where we're going to tell you how the competition is run. So usually in this section we have coaches, mainly coaches, and sometimes we'll have the head coach for the school itself. Any handout that you receive today, if you are here with someone else from your school, you only get one copy per handout. In terms of the study guide, where all the structures are listed, your head coach actually has a copy of that study guide. We cannot actually give you a copy of that study guide. So you have to see your head coach if you're the coach for this event. What we will be doing is we will be giving you out instructions as to how the event will be run on the day of the competition, and then we'll give you a packet of handouts that actually tell you or show you or will guide you, at least get you started on studying the information with your kids. And really this, for the kids, should be a learning experience, and it should be a lot of fun. And I find that students learn best when you make it fun. So please, please, don't make it a trial and a tribulation for your students. That's the worst thing you can do, and it'll turn them off, and they'll say, I don't want anything else to do with Science Olympiad for the rest of my days. I've been a coach. I've been a coach for several years for AS for Anatomy when my children were in elementary school, and then I also supervised disease detectives at both the middle school and the high school level. So I've dealt with the children from both sides of the fence, and really, we really want them to have enthusiasm about the event, and we want them to leave feeling that, wow, I just spent like 3 months studying this information, and it was not all in vain. So when they walk into the competition room, we really take care of your kids. Okay, so don't worry. You leave them at the door. We bring them in. We make them comfortable. We make sure that everyone has all of the equipment that they will need to succeed on that day. And please, don't be surprised if when they leave the competition room, they say, oh, that was so easy. I aced that thing. And then when you see their results, you're like, whoa, that was not an ace, okay? But still just keep encouraging them. And I'm going to first start off by telling you some changes that we made this year. So pretty much all of the structures are the same, but we've added the pathways, and we've increased the number of questions per station. And the reason why we did that is because your students are getting better and better and better every year. We had several perfect scores last year. And so we don't like to use the tiebreaker, but we were forced to use the tiebreaker questions last year because of so many perfect scores. And so that's the reason why we've increased the number of questions. And then we've added just a tidbit of physiology in terms of the pathways of light, the pathways of sound, the pathway of blood through the heart, the pathway of signal transduction over a neuron or a reflex arc. So that information has been added. So my co-supervisor, I have Teresa Martin. She's here today. And her mother is usually the other supervisor, but she's not here today. Darlene Martin, if you've been here before, she's a little petite lady that does most of the talking. And then I have another colleague of mine, Mary Kelly from Macomb Community College. So Darlene Martin, myself, Felicia Scott, and Mary Kelly are all professors at Macomb Community College at the Center campus. We teach anatomy and physiology as well as general biology courses at the college. And so Darlene and I, as well as Teresa, have been running this event for many, many, many years. And we're just happy to do it. We enjoy the students. We enjoy the enthusiasm that your students come into the room with, and then they usually leave with the same enthusiasm, ready to fight the day after they've conquered AS for Anatomy. So, if you need to contact us, either myself, Darlene Martin, or Teresa Martin, our emails are listed here on the first handout you received. This handout just has the extravaganza date, January 17, 2015. And so Darlene is listed first, and then I'm second, and Teresa. So for Darlene and I, you have basically our work emails, and that's really the best way to contact us. Sometimes we'll get coaches trying to reach us by phone, and really if you want a quick answer, email, and then you'll get a response. And usually when you send us a question, that question will go to the Macomb Science Olympiad website, because it's usually a question that everybody has or someone else wants that point to be clarified. So In terms of helping you guys get started and helping you study for this event, we have access, or you have access to the Macomb Community College Learning Center at Center Campus. And then I was just told today that South Campus is also willing to open up their Learning Center to you so that you can go to either Center or South Campus. And the Center Campus, so if you go to the Macomb website, you can basically search Learning Center, and then you can get a map, and you'll see exactly where it is. It actually sits right in the middle of campus. It's part of both the learning, part of it is the Learning Center, and part of it is the library. So it's Building C at the campus. Before you go there, it is important that you make an appointment. So the head tutor there is Jeannie Birch. And all you have to do is either call her at the number that's listed, or you can email her. Her email is birchj@macomb.edu. And what you do is you say, basically, my kids are participating in A is for Anatomy, and I understand that you have some models available for us to come and use. Those models and the materials that you can use for studying in the Learning Center will not be available until after February 16th. That allows for the A&P students to get past their first exams. You don't, repeat, you don't want your little chibis, your little kiddies, in the Learning Center when the A&P students are about to take their first exams, okay? So that is usually not a happy group. And so let's just say, to be safe, you're gonna go there after February 16th. And what will be there for you is basically there will be 2 to 3 boxes where I've taken a model of each basically set of structures that we're going to be testing your children on, and then I put it over there just for you. To get those models, you must have a picture ID, that is your license, such that if the model disappears by some mistake out of the Learning Center, they have a way to actually track you down. Actually, you probably don't want to leave your license, so therefore you're going to give the model back. So they keep the ID until you return the materials. The hours for the Learning Center are listed here. These are the hours as of today. Those hours can change, okay? They can change. So here, the materials available at the Learning Center will include diagrams, and they will include models. And I really want you to understand this. It is very rare that we actually test the children on a diagram. We pretty much 99.9% of the time will test on models. And so I brought some sample models here for you to see today. So you guys received a packet, and this packet basically is all diagrams. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's no way that your students can succeed just by looking at these diagrams. They have to be able to touch the models. Even though we're not going to allow them to touch the models on the day of the exam, they have to be able to, look at it from all the different angles. Because on the day of the exam, as the model is placed, that's the way the model stays. That's the way the model stays. So they can't say, well, we didn't study it that way. I need to turn it this way so I can look at it. Will not work. They are not allowed to touch the models. And they are made aware of that when they step into the competition room. So please remember, for the Learning Center, I'm just reading here on that first page, you have to make an appointment and check in at the front desk upon arrival. And the building and room number is C116. You have to have a picture ID if you want to check out any of the learning materials. 3, this is important. And I know as a parent with quite a few children, we like to take the little ones along with us. But keep in mind, those little ones can be distracting to the students who are trying to study. I have kids, one's hitting the other's kicking the other. You don't even see what's going on, and then there's an outburst. So please leave the little ones at home and only take the children you will be coaching with you to the Learning Center. Appointments are limited to 1 to 2 hours. So when you call Jeannie, she's going to say, well, I have these time slots available. And then basically you go in at the appointed time. No refreshments or snacks are allowed in the Learning Center. Okay? And this is basically to prevent you guys or prevent the students from basically destroying the models with drinks and, sticky hands from their M&M chocolate peanuts. The materials that you will be given as student study aids are fragile. Some of these models cost several $100s. For example, we have skulls that cost $900 each, right? So you can't be, playing toss up the skull when you're over in the Learning Center. So just please make sure that your students are respectful of the models that they will be using. Here at the bottom, we have the Elementary Science Olympiad website listed. So anytime you have a question, you can send that question to the website. Either myself or Darlene will actually make a response. I'm going to the second page. So the second page, let me make sure I covered all my notes on the first page. So yes, everyone is aware that the competition day is May 9th, and the students have to be prompt, okay? So there is no wiggle room in terms of the time. All the students come in together, they take the exam, all the students exit together. Okay? So you can't come in 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late once we close that door. Okay, on the day of the competition, so here, number one, be prompt. We will begin the competition at exactly the time designated. We do not have the luxury of waiting for any team. Number two, they will need number 2 pencils. I suggest that they have more than one. So no ink pens, number 2 pencils should be brought into the competition by each team. We will supply the Scantrons. So you've actually been given an example of the Scantrons. So this year, I think I have it. The number of questions per station will be 4 questions per station. This is a big change since last year. Last year was 3 questions per station, and then we had 3 tiebreakers. This year we will have 4 questions per station, and then we will also have 4 tiebreakers. So when your students get their Scantrons, they will be instructed to place their team name and number at the top, and then if we have not, put the numbers 101, 102, 103, and 104 on the back. They will be told to write those numbers on the back. So I suggest that you take your Scantron, turn it over, and write the numbers in this white area, because these will be the Scantrons they will be using. 101, 102, 103, and 104. This is where their tiebreaker answers will go. In terms of the Scantron, every year we have teams that do not know how to fill out the Scantron properly. Every year this happens. And usually when we're first in the room, when they first answer their first or address questions at their first station, we go around and make sure they're answering the Scantrons properly. Sometimes this is what will happen. So they want to mark answer A. Instead of shading the box, some of them will do this. Okay? And every one of their answers will be marked wrong. Okay? So they have to know how to mark the Scantron. Yes?
In regards to the Scantrons, they said that they're very sensitive. What does that mean?
So, for example, let's say they changed their mind. So at first, they marked A. They erased it, but maybe they left a little bit of the lead in that space. They have to make sure that they erase the entire area, because what will happen is the machine may still pick up that little bubble. So they have to be very careful that if they're going to erase, they erase really well. Usually we don't have a problem with that, because what happens is the student, it's a team. And usually on a team, somebody got it. Okay? And you have to get this straight in advance. The worst thing that can happen in the competition room is that they start arguing over what the right answer is. So before you get them there, you need to tell them, okay, Susie's the expert on the brain, you're the expert on the heart. If Susie says that's the answer you go with for the brain. If you say the answer, if you're the expert on the heart, if you say that's the answer you go to for the heart. Because they are not allowed any verbal communication. All communication has to be non-verbal. So typically what they do, they'll get to a station and then they'll just start pointing with the answer. And then sometimes you'll see this. Okay? And they're wasting time because they only get 1 minute per station to answer 4 questions. Okay? So they're arguing over 1 question. They've wasted so much time. And then now they're about upset and frazzled by the time they get to the next station. So you have to get straight in advance who they're going to defer to on each structure or each topic. And that's really how it works. That's the best way for it to work. You all, oh, go ahead.
Are these just examples of the Scantrons?
No, these are the actual
Okay, so
Scantrons.
these are the ones we're gonna bring?
No, we're going to give them to them, the students, the day of the exam. So we want you to practice with them filling out the bubbles.
Okay.
Okay, so this should not be when they get in the competition room, the first time they see this Scantron should not be in the competition room.
You gave us those numbers, the 101, 102, 103, 104. Is that just an example too right now?
No, that's the tiebreaker. So,
I don't know what that means.
okay, so the first 25 questions, or the first 25 stations, excuse me, will be 4 multiple choice questions each. So there'll be 100 multiple choice questions. So you look at the Scantron, on the front is labeled 1 to 50, on the back is labeled 51 to 100. All those are multiple choice questions. Then, in the blank area, you write 101, 102, 103, 104. Those will be tiebreaker questions. That is, they'll have to write the answers out. It will either be identify a structure or trace the path. Spelling counts.
To handwrite the answer
They have to handwrite the answer
for those questions.
Okay?
And the spelling is a big deal. Like
The
if
spelling is a big
it's all
deal.
or nothing, you have 1 letter wrong, it's wrong.
It's
and
wrong.
every year we go to these questions to break ties, so they're pretty important.
Yes. Yes.
Aren't children allowed to ask questions if they're confused about a certain?
I'm going to read you the directions that we read to them.
Okay, so.
Okay? And so typically there's no confusion as to the structure they're going to identify. Each structure, pointing to that structure, will be an arrow. And the structure they are told to identify is at the tip of that arrow. In some cases, if we're doing the pathway, such as in the heart, I might point to, let's say, the left ventricle and say, to what area does the blood go after leaving this chamber? Okay. Yeah, it gets a little harder now, right? It's a little harder. So that's why we gave you the path of blood flow. So they have to pay attention to the question. Yes?
In the past, have you had problems with them knowing what is being pointed to? I had a vet tech class and we had that same problem. We were doing our final and several of us got, because the arrow looked like there was more than one structure, and we all interpreted it as that and not what they were really. So what do you do?
So if they call us over, usually we'll say, it's what it's touching,
Okay.
right?
It's the end of the arrow too. I mean, the
Yeah.
arrow can be sitting on one thing, but the
Tip
point-
is on something else.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's
Just make
very
sure they
specific.
understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
You will be amazed at how well these students do. Okay, I teach A&P, they do better than my regular A&P students. Okay, they are like just brilliant, and you're like, wow. Okay, that they can get a perfect score when a college person can't get a perfect score. Okay, but they are really good, and you would totally be amazed at how good they are, these students. I mean, we had so many perfect scores, both in the K through 5, as well as the K through 6. So it wasn't just the older students doing the best. Okay, it was some of those younger teams that were doing it as well. Okay, it's really impressive. I'm impressed. Trust me, I am very impressed. Okay, so we went over the Scantrons and the number 2 pencils. Students should try to erase as few answers as possible, as it is difficult to make erasures complete. And so that's what I went over with you on the board. That sometimes they'll leave behind a little bit of lead, and then the machine will pick it up. Please do not have the students bring clipboards, scrap paper, backpacks, purses, or cell phones to the event. Yes.
Can they bring a separate eraser?
So yes, they can bring an eraser,
A separate eraser?
a
okay.
separate eraser, that's fine. But please, no cell phones. If you've ever seen a kid with a cell phone, if that cell phone is anywhere on their person, they're always distracted by it. And sometimes, actually we did have this happen where a cell phone actually rang during the competition. Who's calling this person? Okay? This is an elementary schooler. If it's the parent already knew. They went into the room usually, yes? Okay.
Probably the grandma.
It's probably, yeah, you're right. It's probably grandma saying, how you doing, baby? And that's good, right? But not during the competition. Okay, grandma, don't tell grandma not to call. Okay, you should keep, if you're the coach or if you're the parent, you keep the cell phone. Trust me, they're going to come in one way, and then they're going to go out the opposite end of that room. They're going to be let out into the sports arena where all the ceremonies go on. Okay, so they'll come in one door, and then they'll go out the other door. And usually if they say, well, I don't see my mom or I don't see my coach, we'll stand at the door and say, okay, make sure you look around and don't leave until someone comes and gets you.
We refer to that as the science riot.
It is a science riot, right? And probably our biggest problem is the coaches and the parents standing outside the door talking. It's something your child will recognize your voice, okay? They hone into it. Listen to mama out there just talking, right? And so please, if you're standing outside of the door, be quiet. Keep your conversation down or go elsewhere. Because what happens is the soundproofing isn't that great in the room that we use, and so those voices carry into the exam room. And then don't be offended if one of us will stick our head out the door and say, please be quiet. It's nothing personal. We're just trying to make sure that the students can focus on the exam.
How long does the exam take?
The exam typically takes about 40 minutes. That's the allotted time. So 1 minute per station. It takes us about 3 to 5 minutes to read the instructions.
How long, like, how do they signal that the next station is
We say
happening?
next or we say rotate. Okay, so everyone moves at the same time. Only one team will start at question number 1. Okay, only one team will start at question number 1. And usually what we tell them to do is circle the number that you are starting at. This is the number you should end up back at the end. Okay? And sometimes what will happen, if they skip a question, they're going to mess up their numbering. So tell them, even if they don't recognize a structure, take a guess. Take a guess so that their numbering won't be off. And that's happened before. They'll skip a question and then everything beyond, then they forgot they skipped the question because they will not be allowed to go back.
Yeah, it's very hard to get them back on track then, because we keep going, and then
Yes.
they're trying to make it up, and,
That's
yeah.
great that you brought that up, because that happened to my son in ecology range last year. He got in the wrong spot, and it
Yeah.
messed up the whole thing.
And it messes up the whole Scantron. And then they're upset because they spent 3 months studying for this event.
Devastating.
And it's devastating for them because they knew the information, but just because they got off track, there's really nothing we can do. Okay? So that's your job as a coach, to make sure they understand the dynamics of this little slip of paper. Okay? Good. So we went over not bringing clipboards, scrap paper, backpacks, purses, or cell phones. Number 6, the students will be answering 4 multiple choice questions per station, except for the tiebreaker where they will be required to write out their answers. Students are not allowed to talk during the competition, but they can point to the correct multiple choice answer, or they can use other nonverbal communication. For example, I've seen teams use number of fingers. So 1 is A, 2 is B, 3 is C, 4 is D. So they have to decide that before they get into the room. And then sometimes, even though we say do not talk, they think whispering is not talking. Okay, so no. And then what'll happen is they'll say during the, I think that person cheated on me. You're talking, you shouldn't be talking. And we're like, no, they're not cheating, right? You're talking when you should be speaking. So it's a tight room. There are no like separate booths or anything. It's one big open space. And then there are these 26 stations spread around that one big open space. It's a standing competition. That is, students are not allowed to sit at any time during the competition. Students will move through the exam without sitting unless there is a medical reason. And if you have a medical reason, please send us an email saying that my team, as one of the participants, has someone who's either in a wheelchair or in crutches, and so that we can make accommodations.
So back to the communication, so if they talk, are they disqualified?
They're not disqualified, no, we never do that. We usually go up,
Okay.
I mean, we do that throughout the competition. Because, I mean, you've been talking to this person for the last 3 months, right? right? You've been free to touch all these models, and sometimes they'll start touching, we're like, no. We take really good care of them. We don't yell, we don't scream, we just like, oh, baby, don't. We don't say baby, but we say, that's not appropriate, or shh, shh, those type of things, really. I mean, if you've ever had anyone participate in A is for Anatomy, they will tell you that they usually have a good time in our room. They're very pleased as to their experience in the room. Okay, we say, wow, all of you guys did a great job. Go slay some more dragons out there, right? Go do whatever you're gonna do today, but do it well. Okay, so that's true. So don't be afraid to leave them in our hands for 40 minutes. We got you. Okay? Students are not allowed to touch any model or picture during the competition. The stations have to remain in the same position for all competitors. Students will not be allowed to return to any station. And that's probably what upsets them most, that, you know, they get halfway across the room and they remember exactly what that structure was, and then we have to tell them, no, you can't go back. You only get one opportunity to answer that particular question. So it's important that you tell them that they only get one opportunity per station. And it's good for you to actually practice this with them. So even after all of your studying, you should set up a mock competition for them, okay? Take them through the paces. Every minute, they have to rotate. Make sure that they don't touch anything. If they erase, make sure they erase well. Parents, go ahead.
Isn't there a practice in March?
Is that posted?
March 7th.
March 7th? Oh, okay, so that was a lack of communication, but I guess if it's posted, we gotta do it.
I thought I heard it.
Okay, so in general, I should make this announcement. In general, when we do the same structures, we don't hold another practice. Okay? So last year we did these structures, this year we're doing these structures, and the only difference is that we've added pathways, and then we gave you the study guide for that. Yeah, so I guess we are tied to March 7th, so I'll see you guys on March 7th.
March 7th is just the district council.
Oh, that's the district conference? Okay, so that's district. Okay, so yeah, you're getting it scared, because sometimes they will do that.
Well, I thought that's what it meant. I mean, how did you find that?
So there are district competitions that are held locally. We do not participate in those at all,
Why did they tell us about it?
because it's your district. You participate, we don't.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so to make it fair to all the districts,
All right.
we do not participate in any district competition. Because we don't want to give any district any advantage over another district. So for example, if I could do March 7th, but I couldn't do, what was your, March 24th, right? So you would have an unfair advantage if I participated in your competition, but not her competition.